Director General Alfredo Conte, thank you for being with us. Welcome to Doha Forum.
Thank you.
I want to talk about the India, Middle East, Europe corridor that was launched at the sidelines of the G20 summit, aimed at enhancing Italy's economic ties with the region. Can you tell me a bit more about that and how it will enhance ties?
Well, Italy is a trading nation. I mean, we always thrive on exporting and importing goods and letting also other countries do the same. And with that, we see ourselves as a connector for others, especially in the European continent. And everything which increases our ability to connect is welcome. And in this respect, the initiative which was launched a few months ago is excellent for us because it gives us an opportunity to use this corridor which is being built. We hope it will be built, even in spite of the ongoing crisis, to profile ourselves as a hub, for the rest of the European continent. So we are looking forward to the opportunity that this will offer us also to increase our cooperation with partners also in the Middle East.
What are some of the main areas of cooperation between Italy and the GCC region, and how do you see those ties being enhanced, either security ties or economic cooperation?
Well, first of all, let me tell you that in the security field, we are encouraged to see that the region, the Gulf, is showing an increasing appetite for cooperation. So everyone in the region now understands more than in the past that to work together is more conducive to wealth and stability than the other way around. And this is a precondition for more cooperation in various areas. I mean, of course, the energy field is a prime area for cooperation and for increasing our ties. I recall personally, I was in Doha in March 2022 in the immediate aftermath of the Russian aggression of Ukraine, when we were looking for alternatives to the Russian gas, and Qatar, of course, is a first provider. But Italy is very good also, very few people know, but we are a manufacturing country, especially for components, for machinery. And so our machinery can be instrumental, and we are also very good at the circular economy, the waste treatment. So we can provide a lot of expertise and know-how that countries from the region can benefit from. So we like to see it as a win-win.
Italy is set to assume the presidency of the G7 next year and has given a stated focus on the global south. How do you see the MENA region fitting into that focus?
Well, first of all, I would say that I don't like the term global south. I mean, I like the countries who belong to it, but it's funny because it lumps together, a lot of geographic locations which are not necessarily captured by the south. But as it is very diverse, it requires an ability also to, there is no one-size-fits-all approach to that. Especially it requires a certain ability to understand the others that I think Italian diplomacy is particularly well suited for. And certainly we want to have the MENA region front and center of our presidency, and of course the Mediterranean, but also the Middle East. And obviously what is going on in the region right now confirms the validity of an approach that we intended to pursue even prior to October the 7th.
Speaking of the global catastrophe that's happening right now, the war between Israel and Hamas, what is Italy's position on a ceasefire, and how is Italy supporting humanitarian efforts on the ground in Gaza?
I will start from the second point on humanitarian assistance. We are doing what we can, I mean, of course, to provide goods, but also to provide medical assistance to try to mitigate the horrible consequences which are under everyone's eyes. We sent a ship, which is now in the Egyptian harbor of Al Arish, and it is treating some of the poor, civilian of Gaza, which are, which used to be either in Gaza itself or in Egyptian hospitals. And interestingly enough, as a perfect example of cooperation with Qatar, our ship is having on board a medical team coming from Qatar, 6 doctors, which are helping. On the more political issue of it, Italy is traditionally a friend of Israel, and so we understand, given the terrible attacks that Israel experienced on the 7th of October, the need for them to respond. But we are also very clear that the response has to stay proportionate and in line with the humanitarian law. So this is a message that we state clearly, publicly, but also privately. We convey this message to the Israeli friends that their reaction doesn't have to make things worse, which apparently is, and sadly, is the case right now.
Following Israel's war in Lebanon, Harb Tammuz in 2006, Italy was integral in maintaining peace and stability in Lebanon through the UN Interim Force in Lebanon, UNIFIL. Can you see a similar model being implemented perhaps in Israel and Palestine?
Well, I mean, you know, it's an interesting example. I mean, first of all, because at the time there was a not so serious a conflict, but still Israel also suffered the shock when Hezbollah first struck in June 2006. Then Italy gave a very important contribution to UNIFIL, where we still have more than 1,000 of our troops, you know, are part of the UN mission. I think it's not entirely comparable, and you know, but what is clearly the relevant parallel to be drawn, we see an important role to be played by the UN and by a multinational component in what necessarily will be a transitory phase. I mean, we are also, to be clear, totally in favor of the Palestinian being in control of Gaza, so the Palestinian Authority, but perhaps this cannot happen immediately. So there will be some kind of interim where the UN should be in the lead. And of course, you know, Italy is ready to do its part.
Thank you for speaking with us today.
My pleasure.